So you're following your dreams, and that is amazing. We're with you, but how do you fund your music career?
In this episode, we're going to talk about balancing your passion with a paycheck and even when you should quit your day job.
Hey, how's everyone doing? For Bridge Atlantic, I'm singer-songwriter MARCIO from Canada.
And I'm music web designer Russ Power-Smith from Scotland.
And you're watching B-Sides, a show empowering musicians with knowledge and advice. If you're new here, subscribe.
So in this episode, we're going to be talking about day jobs, talking about the pros and cons of having a day job as a musician, when might be the right time to quit your day job, and all sorts of things. So I think we're just going to dive right in and
this is something that I sometimes cringe. You know, when you're following your dreams and that's all that really matters to you, it sucks to have to go get a quote-unquote real job, but it's kind of the reality. I mean, even Johnny Depp used to work as a salesperson, you know, before we all knew him as Johnny Depp, and he tried to make it in a rock band, all these different things. You know, everyone's kind of, you got to make money. At the end of the day, you need money. And of course the dream, and it's not even just a dream, it's a reality where you can make money off your music. That's the goal, you know, but it's not going to happen all at once for most of us. And it is a gradual climb. So, you know, every time you make a little more from your music, that's a gratifying and amazing feeling. But you just got to remember, most of the time as a musician, even if you are making money, it's not consistent, it's not reliable, it's not predictable, until it's at the point where even the bare minimum is enough for you. That's great, you know, but for most of us, it's just not predictable. Of course, there are avenues like Patreon, which really help artists like myself and independent artists now to have somewhat of a predictable income every month, which really helps us focus on being artists. But still, you know, there are still times where we do need to look at getting a quote-unquote proper job, even if that's temporary, even if it's at the same time as following your passion. There are a lot of pros and cons to doing this, you know. I guess some of the reasons why you should get that is pretty obvious. It gives you money. And that money not only helps you live and survive, but it helps you put that money, it allows you to fund your career. You know, buying the equipment you need, putting money into marketing and making an album, you know, making music and getting it out there, you know, heading out on tour, whatever it is. That's what you can use that for, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And obviously, I guess the cons of having a day job is that it does give you less time to maybe be focusing on your music. But then it's that whole conundrum, isn't it, really, of, you know, you need money to create and you need the time to make it. You kind of got to find the balance between the two. And I remember, obviously, I'm a web designer, not a musician, but there were times when I was working full-time jobs and doing internships on the side and doing, you know, so many different things just to be able to do what I wanted to do on the side while I was building up my client base. And in a way that's similar to being an independent musician, you know, in that you need to be growing your fan base rather than client base. And you need to be finding ways of making income that's more regular and more sustainable. So you might need that other job on the side that is kind of funding you and allowing you to do that. But yeah, it's all about balance. And that's, and you know, the hard part.
And you can really, there are plenty of jobs in the music industry you could do. You know, teaching is something that I've done in the past, and a lot of musician friends of mine do that. It's a more steady income, especially if you work for, you know, a company that gives lessons. You could do that independently, of course, but you know, there's a steady stream of students coming in. You know, you're going to have that, and you're still making music. You're getting better. Like when we teach people, it actually improves us as well. You know, so that's something to look into. There's so many different things you can do. That's something I learned a while back, that I can still I can pursue my passion and my dreams while also making money. And that money can come from still being in the music industry. You know, there's so many different avenues for that. And I guess we're not financial advisors or anything. However, you know, maybe look at what your goals are. You know, are you looking to just make enough to live so that you can have as much money, as much time to spend on your music? Or are you going to work a little bit more than that in order to save a little bit, because that's always smart too, have enough to live, but save a little bit, because you don't know when you're going to have that next purchase, when your guitar is going to need a repair or something, or whatever you're playing. Your piano needs restringing. You know what I mean? Restringing or retuning. You don't want to restring a piano. That would be a lot of money and a lot of time. But yeah, so, you know, you might have to go get a quote unquote regular job, you know, outside the music industry that's a bit more steady and predictable. But, you know, just remember that nothing is permanent. You do have control over things, you know. Try not to put yourself into a situation where you have to dedicate most of your time outside of music, if you know what I mean. You know, try to keep your options open. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about funding your music career. Unless your music is just a hobby to you, then that's fine. That's on the side. But if your goal is to really get known, grow your following, make music your living, you know, that to me is success at any level. If you're able to, you know, live off your music, that is success. You know, then you're going to have to look at your options here.
Yeah. I mean, you can absolutely be building a music career while you're working a full-time or part-time job. And I think the way to think about it is think of this job as a means to an end. So that job really is what's funding you to go ahead and do what you want to do. So don't think of it as I'm going to be in this job forever. Think of how you can use the money you make from that job to fuel your career and push things forward. Because that's probably what's going to keep you going, especially if you're having a bad day in your day job and you think, oh, this is not what I want to be doing. I'm having a terrible time. It's like, well, you might be having a terrible time, but what is the goal here? What's that money going to enable you to achieve?
You know, and if you're not particularly good with money, then maybe you might want to look at a financial advisor or just someone in your family that is really good with money, or a friend, and ask them, you know, for some advice on what to do. Because like I said, we're both believers in saving. You got to save. You got to have some sort of, you know, if you can, have something that you can fall back on financially in case anything happens, if someone gets ill. You know, these are just the grown-up things that we've learned in our old age, you know, but you have to have some sort of safety. But also as a musician, you know, you can't just always rely on someone else. For example, a record company, you might not have a record label, or you might not have fans yet to help crowdfund you, you know. So someone's going to have to go put money into making that record or EP. Who's it going to be? It's got to be on you. You know what I mean? If you're in a band, that helps because everyone can split the costs. But you're going to need to have something. You're going to have to start saving now. You know, it might seem great to head out to the bar, or if you're on Ross's side of the world, the pub, and just, you know, throw back a few and have a great time. But you know what? Just think about how that money could be saved and put into your music career, because that has so much more value. Yeah. Than going out for dinner or something like that, or buying things you might not necessarily need, you know. So that's a little bit of our advice there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's going to be sacrifices, but
yes,
you know,
you have to make sacrifices.
You have to weigh it all up, what's more important, and that should hopefully guide the decisions that you make. And
then there's a point where you got to realize, like, when is it time to completely quit your day job and, you know, take a leap into music full time? And I don't think anyone can really tell you that.
No,
you know?
I think that it really is a case by case basis, depending on you and what your situation is. But I think you will probably know when the time is right. I certainly knew when the time was right for me to leave my day job and do what I was doing full time. Mm-hmm. Very scary for the first few months. In some ways, it still is kind of scary. And I think that being an independent musician is probably going to be much the same. It's going to be a little unsteady, maybe not as predictable as your day job, but it'll be so much more rewarding. But yeah, I think you do have to be sensible and take into consideration when does it feel like it's right to do it. And I think the savings behind you will probably be, you know, a safety net if you need it.
Yes.
But yeah, I always think that you know when is right.
Well, I used to have the mentality that if you're not doing music full time, then you're not serious about it. But that's just not. That was kind of a juvenile, you know, immature way of thinking about it. You need to be able to fund things. You know, it's just, you have to be, like you said, you have to be sensible. And I think that's just, to sum it up, be sensible.
Yeah. And
make decisions that are going to help you follow your dreams, but also not put you on the streets.
Yeah, and I think if you're in doubt, there are lots of people out there who, you know, specialize in like kind of music industry and entertainment advice. Mm-hmm. You know, seek them out and have a chat with them and see, you know, what they think, because it can be good to get an outside perspective on things and see, you know, what might work for you. But
look through some of our past interviews, because we've talked to some of the best.
Absolutely, and that's probably a good place for us to wrap things up.
I agree.
We would love to hear from you. Are you a musician with a day job, or have you recently made that leap into music full time? Please do tell us about your experience in the comments, because we would love to hear from you. And if you'd like more from us, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you want to pick up one of our shirts, visit our website and use the coupon code BTAROCKS for 20% off your order.
This episode was brought to you by Social Surge, your source for social media marketing and online music promotion. Check them out because they do what, Ross?
They keep the show alive. And if you would like to sponsor the show and become an official Bridger, join us on Patreon from as little as $1 per month. Not only will you be able to showcase your band or brand to our amazing audience, but your support will allow us to keep bringing you weekly videos here at Bridge the